This will be our first video, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a saddle style holster for a Glock 17 Gen 5. We don't need the magazine for any reason unless we're doing a magazine pouch. The gun has been checked, everything's empty. Obviously, we do that first. And then what we do is we want to set the gun up. If it's going to be a right hand holster, you want to have that side facing up. What I do with mine is a 13-degree cant, because for me, I believe that that's the best forward cant. So I set that to 13 degrees, and then what we do is trace the gun. Doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure you get all the way around. The handle, grip part of the firearm does not matter. Trace it, mark where the ejection port is, get into the trigger guard if you want, and put that off to the side. Now we have the outline of the firearm, and we have the 13 degrees here. You want to leave about 1/4 of an inch on the bottom. I draw one line straight across like this. What you want to do is take the same thickness of leather as the thickness of leather on your holster. You're going to put this right tight against here and mark it. And then go around the widest part of the trigger guard and mark that. And then come down to a narrower point. Put that back where it was. Mark this. Nice and tight. Down to there. And that gives us our spacing for our stitch line. So what we do is we find center and we make our marks. Line there, line there. You want to measure the same distance off here. It's going to be approximately 1 inch. So you can measure 1 inch off there. And you want to do that to make room for the sight. You line up that line with that line, and there's your marks. Follow these lines all the way through. Follow this line all the way through. Then you want to figure out your ride height. How high do you want that? Right across the trigger guard is not quite high enough to get your hand in there. So you want to ride that just a little bit lower. I like to go about halfway or further down. And then I mark my belt. Standard belts are 1.5 inch. I do 1.5 inch. And now you've got your grid. You can play with this and do whatever design you want. You can do round outside or square outside. I use this small tracing template. I made my lines on it for spacing. So I do the bottom first, line this up, and I put my curve in there. Put my curve in there for the bottom. And then I figure out where I want my belt loops. This is going to be your stitch line, so you want to be far enough away that it's not going to be too tight when you put it on the body. So leave yourself spacing. You can put them straight up and down, you can angle them. Totally up to you, whatever you want the look to be. Let's do this one like this. Trace it all the way to there. I stop at the belt because anything else past that is irrelevant. Put that around, stitch line, move it over. Do the same amount of tilt. All right, there we go. You can actually put the center thing in here too, because we do punch that out later. Now we can draw our top and our lines in here. Down here has to be pretty standard, and I do it by hand. you figure out just a quick sweep here. And the same down here. Realistically, draw it a little bit straighter up with the line here. And then just flow it in. Right off of there. Right? Now we can deal with this. We want to cover the trigger as best we can. And then we'll deal with the back part of the holster, and we'll show you how to do that. Imagine it comes down and then up just past here. And you can always erase. I do a lot of erasing when I do these. So you come down and up, right around there, and then back to there. Nice and smooth, just like that. Erase all your lines afterwards. We also want to mark for the back. When we're doing the back, we want to mark approximately where the magazine release is, because we want to make sure that our back part of the holster doesn't interfere with that at all. So that's pretty much how that goes for the front part. And then we can erase all of our lines and make it look pretty, and then we cut this out and we deal with doing the back. So for here, I like to do a stitch all the way around here. Just looks the best, and it runs into this stitch line here. Stitch line here you want to keep equidistant. That's my word of the day. Here to here, here to here. Stitch line down, down, down. Keep it square. Down here. Stitch line here, all the way down. And then from here, we can go up, down across, down, down, stop there. Follow it around if you like. It looks better that way. Follow it around if you like. Looks better that way. For the back part of the holster, you do the same thing. Trace the gun. All the way around. And we're going to do the lines just a little bit differently. You're going to measure about 3/8 of an inch. And when you do that, it's smaller, and this creates a pocket. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we do 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, depends on what you want to do. Let's do 1/4. Mark this here. Do 1/4, mark that there. Mark it up so we get straight lines. And I'm actually going to go off of the side there. 1/4 inch all the way through. Then we draw our lines, run them right through, run them right through. Run that right through. When we cut this out, I just use an X-Acto knife. I can use that for everything. Make it as smooth as you can. Move the paper with your cuts. You can use scissors, cut it out however you want to cut it out. If you cut something off, just tape it back on. You don't need to start again. This doesn't have to be perfect. All right, there's our cutout. And we're gonna line this stitch line up. You want the same distance down here, 1/4 of an inch with your 13 degrees. Line this up. Trace the outside. Line this one up. Trace the outside. And you want to stop about here and here, because now you have to remember where that magazine release is. And you want to stay away from that. And the back doesn't have to match the front, it doesn't matter. Come up, around the trigger guard and meet that there. Perfectly fine. Do this. Looks like I slipped a little bit there, doesn't matter. Now, when you cut this out, same thing, just move your paper around. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. The way I learned these spacings was from watching Sam Andrews on the Hank Strange channel. And it's the same thing. I do all my own designs when I do wallets, and it's trial and error. You make a lot of mistakes, you do a lot of erasing. Just get rid of that. Now what you can see here is this is bigger than the back one. When you attach them, that creates your pocket. And it's perfect every time. And then when you wet mold that holster, that sits around the gun, and you can follow whatever lines you want. When you do your wet molding, you can mold in the trigger, you can draw this line, and if you want to do a stiffener on the holster on the front, you can, and what that does is it keeps it open a little bit. You can follow the gun, stay away from your line, come down. You can use little round things to make your corners. I used to use a nickel. It was always the perfect radius. Do that there, do that there. Come right across. Come right across. Head up right by the trigger. And go straight up if you want. It's just a panel. It's just something to help keep that straight. Keep that opened up. Follow that radius there. And then you're going to cut this piece out. Stiffener, right hand, G17.5. Grain. Mark everything. And then you can translate that onto leather and cut it out. Stay tuned.